Run Pure Sports members have been on fire recently as we've had a ton of six-figure screenshots flooding our premium Discord. And the winning wasn't limited to one sport, as our members have access to premium content across all sports for one low price. We kick things off with Hebrew Cheetah, who took home $19K in NBA. Also in NBA, C. Lion shipped $100K. In the PGA streets, C. Jacobs 986 won $100K, while Club Camp Cole and Birdie Monster each took home over $200K. The biggest winner of all was an NBA hit, with the man shipping a monster $1 million in DraftKings Millie Maker contest. Our members weren't the only ones crushing the leaderboard. Our very own JSU won over $100K in MLB, while BigT had another monster performance, shipping for $146K in PGA. With NBA playoffs, MLB, and PGA going strong, now is a great time to subscribe to Run Pure Sports. Head on over to our website and check out all of our affordable subscription options, and use code RPSHeaters25 for 25% off your first payment on a monthly subscription. And don't sleep on our free content offerings as well. PGA Millie winner Record 62 has been producing regular PGA articles on our website to help you build winning lineups. And subscribe to our YouTube channel today to sign up for alerts to our daily free live streams. Our best team has been on fire as well, with our guy Keg dominating the live NASCAR betting, pulling in over 22 units per race in 3 of the past 5 races. There's no better way to build your bankroll than betting with Keg and Coop on the live KegCast. Check it out today for just $40 a month. Thanks again, guys. Make sure you head on over to Run Pure Sports and find out why our members are crushing in every sport by accessing our free and premium content.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Monday crew, swing for the fences. DC, Hoop, myself, talking some baseball. Had 9 games on the slate. We're down to 7. The 2 games that got postponed were the first 2 games on the slate. So FanDuel and DraftKings move lock back to 7:40 Eastern on both sites. NBA, 7:30 p.m. Eastern today. So, MLB, NBA locking pretty close to each other. A lot of weather now, or this time of year, as we talk about. Looks like all the weather pretty much is gone for what we're waiting on. The Cubs situation, it's going to be pretty gross in Chicago, but I assume they would have already postponed it. It's really chilly there. So I'm going on the I'm going expecting the game to play, that we're not going to have any postponements, but you never know. DC, bring you in first, the baseball guy. The first thing I did when I looked at the slate not too long ago, looked at pitching, and a lot of guys that you seem to be pretty high on to start the year are on the slate. So I'm assuming you'll like this slate. Talk to the people about how's it going, how your weekend is, and anything on this slate you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, things are good. A fun now. What is it, down to 7 or what? 9 to 7, I think. Right?
I see 7. Yep, 9 to 7.
Lost those 2 early games. So like you said, the lock pushed back on both DraftKings and FanDuel. So locks 35 minutes after it was expected to. And you're right about the pitching. A ton of guys that I was interested in. 3 of them, three of the 4 pitchers in the 2 games that got canceled: Alvis Cobb, Josiah Gray, and forget the last guy, but Tyler McGill. 3 guys that I was interested in tonight, but there's a whole bunch of others, like you mentioned, a whole bunch of guys that I like on this slate. I think you're going to see some chalk centered around 2 pitchers: Sean Manaea, Frankie Montas. I do like both of those guys to some degree as well, but there are places to get different. Despite losing, 3 pitchers I would have had exposure to myself. So a lot of good pitching on this slate, and a lot to talk about, even on a shorter 7-game slate now.
Yeah, and I mean, this might be the record for the longest time in a baseball show that I did not mention Coors when Coors is on the slate. So it is a Coors slate. And man, I mean, we'll talk about it, but pretty good pitching. 1 clear spot with the Phillies that'll get the ownership. So it's a good slate. It's a really good slate, I think. A lot of different ways you can go. You know where the ownership's going. You can get different pretty easily. I'm excited to talk about it. Break it down. Hoop, head over to you. You were on the Mangone and Friends show, I think is what DC talked about or called it, and that's what we're going with. You're on there this morning talking about your 100K win for baseball. Mangone does a great job with all those shows, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, so check it out. But yeah, you were talking about your win a little bit, your process, so check out that if you haven't already. Been a good start to you in the MLB streets, Hoop. Got some NBA tonight too. Hope you had a good weekend. Whatever is on Hoop's mind, talk about to the people.
Yeah, it was a solid weekend. Started Friday with the MLB shipper, and yeah, I've kind of followed DC's path and made the switch over to baseball. I mean, I'm still following the NBA games and stuff, but in terms of DFS, I'm making the full. I'm too old to do both. Like back in my heyday, I'd do both. I do MLB, I do NBA. My mind just can't work that fast anymore. And the way I'm kind of playing DFS is a little bit different. It's easier, back then when you're just making one lineup and you can really focus in. But for baseball, I'm making, 20 teams and it's just really hard to do both. So kind of making the shift, I'm going to dabble NBA here and there, but my main focus is MLB right now. And obviously it paid off. Friday night had that angel stack that took me to the top of the leaderboard. And, as I joked about, I guess it really wasn't a joke. It was the truth. It literally just hit the sheets. I said, whatever happens, happens. I knew I had three teams that were kind of live to finish high. And it all kind of revolved around the Dodgers. So I knew if the Dodgers put up some runs, I was in a good position. Well, the Dodgers actually didn't put up many runs. I think they only scored 3, but the main guys in my lineups were like Trey Turner and Gavin Lux. They did all the damage for the Dodgers. So it worked out well. Got to the top of the leaderboard. Didn't even have to sweat it out. Just woke up and boom, got the job done. I was live on FanDuel too. I had a few teams live on FanDuel. Fell a little short there, but one of our members took that down. So it's always nice to see when you fall short that another RPS member swoops in for the win. So looked like we're solid across the board in terms of sports. And I saw a lot of big NBA shippers as well. So it's a good start to the MLB season, good start to the NBA playoff season. Fresh Monday where we have, solid MLB slate, which we're going to talk about here, and a very solid NBA slate as well. And the NBA did a good job with the scheduling. It's like there's 3 to 4 games basically every single day, 7 days a week. So that makes it great for NBA purpose.
I was making sure it wasn't me this time, DC.
Yeah.
I was putting in my Ethernet cord. I'm like, oh no, just looking at DC's face. Oh, there we go. He's back.
He's back. You never know for sure who it is, right? You kind of like pause. You're like, who,
yeah.
Was it me?
Was it you this time? Okay. I went right to my Ethernet cord. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Just staring at DC, hoping he moved.
Yeah, I don't know where I cut off, but I started going into a rant about the USFL where, it looks
we didn't hear any of that part.
Yeah, it just looks like the prize pools there are going to start shrinking. That's why we warned everyone on the show, don't pay the big bucks for USFL content. We have the content here on the site to get you through. I have a feeling some of these sites might be having to do some refunding here. Not the, DraftKings took care of it, but I'm talking about the content producers that, took advantage of their members and charged more when I told you we have it here at Run Pure Sports and we'll continue to adapt.
I did play one USFL lineup that
heard you almost shipped.
No. It seems to not have very many fantasy points. I think I still have one player going today. If that game is still happening, it's very confusing with the postponements. But yeah. I will say, as few fantasy points as I have, I'm not as far down the standings as you would think. I think just an extremely low scoring slate, right? Like everyone's like just single digits all over the place. I also got to say, who more impressive than the 100K plus win in baseball to me is that you're able to fall asleep while you've got the legit shot at the big score. You just go to bed. You're like, I can't even fall asleep normally.
Yeah, sometimes I do. Like sometimes I'll, try to grind up, but I knew for sure, I had a long day and I had to get to sleep. My son had a baseball tournament early in the morning. If I stayed up, there's no way I'd be able to survive the next day. He had it was freezing here too. It was 40 degrees with wind, and we were outside from 9 all the way through 6. They made it to the championship and they won, which is great, but we grinded out bad weather all day long. So if I stayed up to sweat, your boy would have been in rough shape. So I knew that I had to hit the sheets. I think that would have ended at 1 a.m. my time, and it would have been a long day on Saturday. Sometimes you can't fall asleep though, but I was fortunate.
That's what I'm saying. It's clearly the correct decision to go to sleep. But I just, I'd just be on my phone, sweating the games. Wouldn't anyway.
Hey, DC, there's levels to this as we talk about. Someone over there is a little too rich. He can go to just
no. That's definitely not the case. That's definitely not the case. I took a little not a sleeping pill, but a melatonin thing to make sure that my ass went out. So it was I was pushed along a little bit. It wasn't natural hit the sheet. And,
I was expecting a gummy from G Rising. That's what I was expecting you to say.
Oh man, G Rising gummy, I would have missed the fucking baseball tournament the next day.
That is true. But yeah, you were talking USFL. We do have a promo code. I'm not sure how long this promo code is going to be out. USFL 36 gets you 36% off for your first month, your first week. I didn't get in the streets at all. There's so much going on. I think Mangone tweeted about it or someone. But like NBA playoffs, MLB, NASCAR, golf, MMA, like it's pretty bad time to put the USFL product out there.
Yeah.
Competing against so many other things. I guess they put out 21,000 tickets they just randomly gave away. The tournament just filled out of nowhere. I don't know. I wasn't really involved too much. I heard it wasn't the best opening weekend for USFL, but we have a promo code over here. You can get all the sports. USFL 36 gets you 36% off your first week, your first month. Hoop's saying a great thing about RPS. Hoop's saying he's pretty much just in baseball mode right now. I'm still doing both NBA and MLB. I'm young enough where I can still do a couple sports. But the good thing at RPS over here, Big T still pretty much basketball, JSU pretty much basketball. K Fallick's going to be on the Up to Lock show. They all play both, but mainly they're focused on that. Whereas DC's focused on baseball mainly. Steve Boynton on baseball. We got Gary, it looks like, mainly on baseball. So many coordinators that do so many different sports, but AP's mainly basketball right now. You'll have people focusing on the main sport right now, baseball and NBA. So much going on, so much to focus on. We have people covering both for you. So head over on Peer Sports, check it out. Tons of content.
It is wild though, like when you kind of flip to a different sport that some of the other people are doing. Like for me personally, like I don't even know, like to me, like Big T, DC is probably in the same boat. Like Big T and JSU, like they don't even exist to me anymore. Like you don't really cross paths with them all that much. So it's funny how when you start, really honing in on one thing, the other aspects kind of disappear to you.
No, 100%. Because I've noticed you in the past week, Hoop, how you're pretty much in the MLB mode. Like, like the people just, once you get in a sport, and NBA and MLB are completely different sports too. Like if you have stuff going on at night, obviously in the NBA playoffs right now, the news doesn't change as much, but MLB, you can lock your lineups in an hour and a half, and you're pretty much done for the night. The strategy, correlation, so many differences in it. But point being, we got you covered every sport that DraftKings offers, FanDuel offers. Head over on Peer Sports, check it out. Hit the like button for us. Hit that subscribe button for us, please. I saw Richie Smalls in chat, had a smash weekend thanks to RPS on FanDuel DK for baseball and basketball. Congrats to you, Richie Smalls. Always see you in chat. We got Jordan, Dante, my man Steve Anthony. We got Snyder, Uncle T. Uncle T's on the playbook. Uncle T told me he's heading to the FanDuel Sportsbook Casino to pick some winners today. So Uncle T giving you some winners from the sportsbook. Gonna play some bets, gonna make some cheese. Uncle T, shout out to you. Look at who he's on tonight. What pitchers and stacks. Junior, Joe A, Derek. Appreciate you guys all hanging out. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button for us. But we're going to get into it. We're going to go with the normal pitchers. Then we're going to go stacks. I don't know if K Fallick's watching, but we'll go pitchers, stacks, position by position, and then we'll close it off with the plays of the day, assuming you guys get the likes, which I know you will. But we're going to get right into it. Again, weather. I'm DC. So what are your thoughts? You're pretty much the RPS weatherman, I'll say. We got the 2 games canceled. I'll go to you after this, unless you have something to say right now.
Yeah, I do have something to say. He's not the RPS weatherman. He's the most accurate weatherman in the industry, as far as I'm concerned. He's been nailing these weather situations. Yes. He's been spot on, taking hard stances, unlike some other people, and getting the job done for Run Pure. His weather analysis has been second to none.
Yep. Hey, I agree with that. The Cincinnati game, you absolutely got right that it was going to play. I don't think you wish it played DC. We'll get to that in a little bit, but you did get it right when it was tough to predict. But I'm just seeing the Chicago game really. It's really cold temperatures, possible snow. Outside of that, though, I expect them to play. What are you seeing on this slate for weather?
Yeah, I think these games will all play at this point. The Chicago one is obviously the one to be worried about, but it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of precipitation outside of maybe some snowflakes, but they would have already, they know how cold it's going to be, right? And we're a couple hours before game time. So they would have canceled the game, I think, if they weren't willing to play in those frigid temperatures. So I think they're just going to gut it out. And then I don't really think, I know there's some scheduled maybe participation in Oakland, but when's the last game a game got rained out in Oakland? I can't even remember it ever happening. So you just got to assume it's going to play.
Cool. Yeah, we're all on the same page with the weather there. So let's get into pitching. Got 7 games on the slate. Pitching's pretty good. DC, I'm going to go back to you. So I'm going to say 8.5K and up. I'm going to break it in two range, 8.5K and up. So it's Eric Lauer, 8.9 to Clayton Kershaw at 10.3. That gives us what, 5 pitchers in that order. This range is pretty good. You're talking about the chalky options being Manaea and Frankie Montas. Sean Manaea is in this range at 9.1K. Kershaw coming off the perfect game that he was pitching. Then he gets pulled to 80 pitches. But still, the pitches, I think for a lot of these guys on the slate, you can feel a lot better about than you could opening day in their first starter round. What are you seeing from 8.5K up, 5 pitchers in this range, DC?
Well, first of all, Frankie Montas is below your threshold at 73.
No, he is. I was saying Manaea, Frankie, the two chalk guys you were saying. Frankie is in this range at the 1, and I just wanted to there's pretty much 2 clear chalk pitchers on this slate. So I just wanted to reinstate that one more time.
Yeah. I think that's the first thing on this slate that needs to be pointed out. It does look like there are going to be 2 pitchers who are far more popular than the rest. That's Sean Manaea, 9,100, hosting the Reds, and Frankie Montas, 7,300, hosting the Orioles. I've said this a few times on the slate, including about one of the pitchers on the slate today, Michael Lorenzen, where I'm not afraid to say it for a $7,300 Frankie Montas. I have him projected to score the most points of any pitcher, right? And you get a massive discount from him over these guys. I think where Montas is at as a pitcher compared to Manaea, I know Manaea's results have been good through 2 starts, but I think Montas is kind of the far superior long-term talent. He's got a better place to pitch here in Oakland. Not that pitching in San Diego is bad. And Manaea, if you look at his numbers last year overall, these last couple of years, he looks at that level or even slightly worse to me. Just he hasn't changed any of the pitches that he throws moving over to San Diego. His velocity is down a little bit. So I know the results have been awesome through 2 games, and the team total for Cincinnati is low. I get why people are going to Sean Manaea, but pretty clearly Montas over Manaea for me. And I'm seeing Manaea 40+% ownership, perhaps. That's getting to the point for me at 9,100 where I wouldn't be surprised if Manaea struggled a little bit. So he'll probably be a fade, but Montas looks tremendous. Kershaw is interesting, right? He was just obviously lights out. 7 perfect innings against the Twins, 13 strikeouts, threw the slider, the most that he's ever thrown it in any start in his career, I believe. So pitched differently than we were used to seeing him. But you have to wonder how long they'll let him go, right? If they're willing to pull him at a perfect game through 7 innings and 80 pitches, they probably didn't even want him to throw that many, and he kind of forced the issue. So I'm worried about that a little bit, but he looked awesome. I know the matchup's tough, but I think you'll get Kershaw a little bit lower owned. Aaron Nola, kind of off the board at Coors Field, just not going there at 9,900. Louise Garcia, I think, is okay, but don't love it at 96. Talked about Manaea. Lauer, I think, is fine, mostly because the matchup is so good against Pittsburgh. I don't love him as a pitcher, but it's the Pirates, and that typically tends to work out. Huascar Ynoa, not going to touch him against the Dodgers. And then I know he's below 8,500, but Shane McClanahan, I think, assuming that game in Chicago does go, he's a pitcher that has enormous strikeout upside each and every outing. I do worry a little bit sometimes about pitchers pitching in that extreme cold, right? If they just can't get a feel for the baseball. He can be wild at times anyway. So that's a little bit concerning. But of course, in general, right, pitching in the cold weather is an advantage to the pitchers. So that'll probably be the case for him. Assuming he's able to throw strikes, he should have no problem with that Chicago lineup. So yeah, my favorite guys here, Montas, number 1 by pretty wide margin, frankly. McClanahan, actually 2. Kershaw 3, and then I'll go Manaea 4, but Manaea's ownership percentage just going to be so high that I'll probably go elsewhere myself.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I was looking, the McClanahan was the one that really stuck out to me and that I want to ask you about, because the K-prop's pretty good, 5.5. The weather's awful there. The ball's not going to travel as much. But like you said, for pitchers, especially a guy that pitches in a dome or whatever you want to call it, what did he do in college and high school? Has he pitched in cold weather really? Because I don't know. Again, I'm asking a question that you very well might not know, but if it's going to be freezing, pitchers aren't used to pitching in the temperatures what they're going to be in Chicago right now. So he already has some walk problems. Is there any other background you got? Has he pitched in? No, it's a tough question.
No other background. I think you have to just
assume he'll be
risk,
fine,
right? We know in general it should be a advantage for him pitching in that cold weather.
Yeah.
So if there's some well-documented struggles in the cold or something, if you came across that, then sure, you could take that into account. But even then, even if that was the case, are you really going to bump him that far down? It would have to be pretty severe for me to really change my opinion on him on a weather situation that should benefit him. And if you took like the field as a whole for pitchers pitching in that kind of weather, they generally do better than they otherwise would. So, that's the approach I'm taking with McClanahan. Yeah, Montas, McClanahan, my two favorite in this range.
I like it. So, Hoop, I'm going to go to you. We're going to go 8K and above since that's what DC did. And then we're going to throw Frankie Montas in there. I want you to talk about Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas first as the clear two pitchers, the chalk pitchers on the slate. But then after that, 8K all the way up till Kershaw. What do you got?
Yeah, I'll start with Montas. I think that's obviously the most important, topic on the slate. I mean, he's clearly just really underpriced. The K prop I think is like 6, and the juice is like on the over. I want to pull that up because I think it.
Yeah, I'm seeing like 6.5 minus 150.
Yeah, 6.5 juice on the over, and he's 7.3K. Like, I think he's the highest owned, but no matter how high owned he gets, it's not high enough to me. Like, I think this guy should be. Just it's like almost a free square situation. Yeah, it's baseball. There's some volatility, but at 7.3K, when we have a lot of bats we want to pay up for, like, this is a great starting point. Just to cover the guys that are below him. There's just not a lot down here that you can really play. I mean, I guess you can go back to this Lodolo guy. He didn't look great in his first start. I actually have some interest in the Padres bats, I think, over him. We were on DC, was on Lorenzen last time, but, much tougher matchup for him in Houston against the Astros. So really, the bottom starts at Montas for me. McClanahan, I think, is a great play at 8-1. I mean, yeah, I get the point. Like, who knows, where he's pitched, but man, he's played baseball his entire life. I have to imagine he's played in some cold weather at some point. And this is a great spot for pitchers. I mean, it's super, super cold. Likely to be some wind here. I mean, it's going to be a miserable situation for batters. I think he's a really strong play. He's got 2 starts under his belt, and they've been solid. 7 strikeouts and 8 strikeouts. Very strong option there. 2 guys that are really cheap on FanDuel that I wanted to mention. Eric Lauer is 7-1 on FanDuel versus the 8-9 on DK, and then Luis Garcia 9.6K on DK. 6.8K on FanDuel. So, I don't have a ton of interest in those guys on DK, but on FanDuel, certainly in the conversation. And then, the last 2 guys to talk about, Manaea and Kershaw. I think both strong options. I mean, I'm going to have them both in my player pool. It's a good matchup for Manaea at 9-1, obviously going to be very popular. And then Kershaw, I don't know. I think he has a chance to maybe come in a little lower owned than these other guys.
I think so.
Just everything you're looking at. No one's really talking about him. Everyone's talking about the other guys. The fact that he only pitched 80 pitches. He's the most expensive guy on both sites. I still have a lot of interest in him. I mean, he looked absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the only drawback for me here is obviously that he only pitched 80 pitches, but I think if he's pitching well, you have to imagine he can go 85, 90.
Well, it would be worse if they let him try to get the complete game or the perfect game and he threw like 110.
Yeah.
And now he's going to be at like 60 or something, right?
Yeah.
They pulled him early enough where he should be able to hopefully pitch that many and build on it a little bit.
80 was clearly the cap that they were going to give him that opener regardless of the situation. I mean, that is the one situation where you'd be willing to potentially push a guy. It has a perfect game going. They didn't do it. They pulled the plug at 80. Have to imagine they have some sort of pitch count in mind moving forward. Therefore, in my mind, the second start would have to be higher than the first. So I do like him at 10-3, but it's going to be another very condensed, pitcher pool for me. I'm not going to mess with Nola at 9-9 in Coors. I will say though that Rockies lineup is pretty weak, but it's not going to be a play for me. So strong options. I mean, I think 4 or 5 very strong pitching options tonight.
Yeah, I like it. DC, I'm going to go to you, ask 2 specific questions, then I'll ask some other ones about the rest of your thoughts. Because some people in chat were talking about the difference on FanDuel and DraftKings. I'm glad Hoop brought it up a little bit. K-Fleek Burner asked about Luis Garcia. The price difference on FanDuel and DraftKings is big. And same thing with Eric Lauer. If you look at it, 9-6 and 9 or an 8-9 for Lauer on DraftKings, 9.6 Garcia, 8.9 Lauer. On FanDuel, 6.7K for Luis Garcia on FanDuel, whereas Lauer's what, 7.1K? So I know you don't really have interest on DraftKings. Do you have interest on FanDuel? Since there is bats to pay for the Phillies, you're going to want some exposure, maybe. So going cheap at pitcher, I think makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I do prefer Lauer over Luis Garcia. If you're playing on FanDuel, again, yeah, DraftKings, I'm just not paying those prices for these guys when Montas is sitting there at 7,300. So yeah, I would go Lauer over Garcia on FanDuel. Yeah, they're both in play. Although, man, I do think Frankie Montas, again, Hoop said free square. There's no free squares in baseball, even for pitchers, but this is a really, really good spot. A really strong pitcher, a guy who thinks is gonna have a big year. Gets Orioles at home. And the nice thing about Montas is like just pitching in that ballpark, like you have the floor too, right? Like that some pitchers don't have, he's going to be fine. And then he's got the upside to just throw an absolute gem. So FanDuel, we talk about price differences. Montas up at 9,900
exactly
on FanDuel. Like I said, he's my number one pitcher tonight, regardless of price on both sites. So I assume he'll be a lot lower owned on FanDuel just because some people maybe compare the prices, right? And they're playing all the Montas on DraftKings. Maybe they go a different direction on FanDuel. I have no problem just sticking with him on FanDuel too. I expect a really good outing out of him.
Yeah, and you only get one pitcher on FanDuel, whereas you get two on DraftKings, so it's all spread out. I agree. Montas is my favorite as well, even throwing out the price. But still, we're talking Garcia. That's a 3.2.
Yeah, both definitely options. If you've got the 4-4 stack with the Phillies that you really like and you need Lauer or Garcia, I haven't built any lineups honestly over at FanDuel, so I can't say for sure. But if
you just might not be able to fit it.
Yeah, if you got something that you like and he fits, and either Garcia or Lauer are the guy you need there, no problem with that. Both guys should be pretty solid tonight.
Cool. DC leans Lauer there, but yes, K-Fleet Burner, Brett, glad you brought it up. Who brought it up? Always looking at the difference between FanDuel and DraftKings prices is important. DC, I'm going to go back to you though to finish up pitcher. We're going to go 7.1K and below. The two main guys, Lorenzen, you're on him start one. He absolutely pitched a very good game. Gets a lot tougher matchup against Houston though. Then Nick Lodolo, he was the opposite of Lorenzen. He did not pitch a good game. He still has a tough matchup, but the price is down there. The ownership's going to be off too. So if you have any other guys outside of those two, 7.1 below, you can talk about it. I doubt it, but definitely talk about those two.
Yeah, those are the two guys. Lorenzen was awesome for us in that first start. But obviously a much tougher matchup here. That first start at home against Miami rather. Now he's got to go on the road to Houston, who's obviously a pretty good offense, doesn't strike out very much. Lorenzen was good enough in that first start, including, some of the metrics, spin rates and velocity and all that junk that I like to look at, that I do believe in him, his skill set right now, right? I think he's going to be a good pitcher. And I'm seeing probably below 5% ownership on DraftKings. So, if you're playing one lineup, I wouldn't go there. I'm playing 20 lineups tonight myself, and I'll have a share or two, right? You can get way over the field just with one or two shares of them. That's kind of enough for me with Lorenzen. Because any good pitcher can succeed in any matchup, right? It's not like Houston is some completely unstoppable team. So I still have some interest in Lorenzen. Same with Lodolo. I know the results were bad in that first outing, but kind of really uncharacteristic from what his track record is from the minor leagues and what I expect from him going forward. Hit 2 batters, walked 3 in 4 innings. He's known for his command and control. The stuff looked good to me. So, I'm not going to let one bad outing in his major league debut take me off a guy whose talent I really do believe in. The San Diego lineup is, middling, I think, especially without obviously Fernando Tatis. They're a little bit banged up as well. So we'll see what they roll out there. But yeah, Nick Lodolo, I'm seeing probably sub 10% ownership on him as well. Not going to be, not going to go crazy with it, but definitely will have exposure to both Lorenzen and Lodolo. I do like Lodolo a little bit better. I actually think, again, I have more faith in his skills as a pitcher going forward. And I definitely like the matchup better in San Diego than I do in Houston. So yeah, Lodolo, Lorenzen, both in my player pool, but not going crazy with those guys.
I like it. DC, I'm going to go back to wrap up pitching. Frankie Montas is obviously your top guy. Outside of that, though, 2 more pitchers, rank them and ownership. everything included a part of that? Because obviously Manaea's 2 for the industry, but for you in tournaments, Frankie Montas, next 2 in order. Who do you got?
Yeah, Montas 1, McClanahan 2, probably Kershaw 3, and then Lodolo 4. Lorenzen 5 will probably round out my player pool.
Who go over to you? Top 3, top 4 pitchers in order.
Yeah, same thing, but I'm just going to swap Kershaw and McClanahan, like both of them. But, I think Kershaw could come in, lower owned than people think. Love McClanahan in this spot. And then Manaea would be my 4th at 9.1K.
Yeah, outside of Manaea and Montas, I think pitcher is going to be pretty spread out. Kershaw's going to get some, but you don't like picking on Atlanta when you see the price tags for the other 2. Eric Lauer, maybe some go there. Aaron, all these guys are, I think, going to get some. McClanahan's going to get some. Lodolo maybe some, but outside of Manaea and Montas, the ownership's going to be way spread out, and I don't think you worry about it really outside those 2. You like someone, you play them. That's how I'd approach it. That's pitching for you, though. A lot of good pitching, not as much good hitting outside of the Phillies. We'll get to that, but going to talk before we get into the stacks. The members never win segment. It was a good week for sure over here. Starting it off with Sam Martinez, $5,000 in NBA. Congrats to you. Drew Carpenter's always in chat. $14,000 in NBA. The man, $20,000 in MLB. And the man's coming on.
Absolute heater. I mean, just absolute.
Talk
it's
about
so
that
impressive.
quick.
The man so the last week of NBA season, they put out that Millie Maker. Takes it down with ease. I mean, I don't even think there was a sweat. He lapped the field on that one. Just absolute domination. Hops in, gets this $20,000 shipper, and then I don't know what sport it was where he hit the optimal for $10K and a full.
That was NBA Showdown last night.
The NBA Showdown last night. Yeah, just absolutely dominating. And he's on the show with Mangone tomorrow morning to talk about it all. So that's something you love to see.
I think he was in the baseball streets, grinding the early slate the day after he won $1 million in basketball. I was impressed to see him in there. That was good stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, he's on the Mangone show in the morning. Awesome. Tomorrow. Really cool. I'm excited to check that out. Make sure he's absolutely on a heater. Again, 20,000 MLB, million in NBA. Again, 10,000, I think it was again last night. He's always in Discord. So check out him on the Mangone show tomorrow. See what he's got in his process that is leading to all this success. Cookie Monster, 25,000 in NBA. Congrats to you. Big T, 25,000 in NBA as well. Then Hoop, 120,000 plus in MLB. Big time over here from the coordinators, from the members, multiple sports. Hit the like button. I was going multiple sports, talking screenshots, hit the like. That's just so ingrained in my head. But if you're not a member, head over to Frontier Sports, USFL 36, get you 36% off your first month. Congrats to the winners out there. And there's more. If you want it, I saw someone, I think it was B. Davis or Baron Davis or something in Discord, $35,000, I believe. I woke up this morning. I checked it. He woke up at 3:45 to a $35,000 win or something. So, hey, put that in the members never win segment. You can be on this. I think it's Baron Davis is his Discord name. But again, shout out to you. Put your screenshots in the members never win. You can be on this segment. A lot more than just these wins. Just want to highlight a couple though. Congrats to all you guys. Now hit that like, hit that subscribe. I appreciate it. Going to the stacks though. DC, I'm going to head over to you. Top 3 stacks, then I'm going to go to Hoop. Obviously, Phillies are the chalk stack. They're the one that stands out the most. Outside of that, though, I'm pretty interested in what you're going to say because nothing's standing out too much to me.
Yeah, I'm having the same issue, whereas it's kind of hard to really feel confident in too many of these stacks. The Phillies, I mean, clearly number one. Up against Chad Kuhl, who this guy needs to sign with an actual decent team. Goes from the Pirates to the Rockies, the 2 worst teams. That he's got some talent, but it just has not been good for him. I know he was okay in that first start, but you got to imagine Phillies do some damage. Pretty nice day out here in Colorado as well. The Dodgers, just a fantastic offense again. Oscar Noah, pretty good pitcher, but certainly can be blow up prone at times. He's only really got 2 pitches. Can struggle against lefties on occasion. So I do like the Dodgers. I've got them number 2. I don't think many people will use the Rockies here. Maybe. I don't know. Tyler, you're the
I don't think
you're the
so.
Coors Field guy. They're going to see Aaron Nola. But it's hard to pitch in Coors Field, especially for a guy like Aaron Nola, who for one is pretty home run prone. He gets hit hard at times, ball will be flying pretty well in Coors Field. And two, his best pitch by far is his curveball, which is affected greatly by the thin air in Colorado. It just doesn't move as much. So you take away his best weapon. This Rockies team actually hitting pretty good. I mean, you see the team total approaching 5 for the Rockies. So could be a decent time to jump on this Rockies team at reduced ownership. I don't know what Nola's career results are in Coors Field, but I would imagine it's been a struggle for him. It usually is for pitchers who rely on a big breaking ball as their best pitch. So maybe I'll look that up as we're talking, but I do like the Rockies as my third favorite stack.
I like it. Before I go to you, Hoop, because I had 2 in mind outside the Phillies, of course. Mine was the Rockies. I like targeting low-owned teams at Coors against a solid pitcher. So I like the Rockies. And then Houston. I see Gary talking about in chat too. I know Lorenzen, but Lorenzen struggled with lefties in the past. Kyle Tucker, Jordan Alvarez, and then Gary put in chat, which is a good nugget. It's going to be really nice hitting weather in Houston. The roof it's open. He said it's 80 degrees. Gary was talking about. So the best hitting weather, a guy Lorenzen that struggles against lefties. I think Houston makes some sense too. So those are my 2 favorite outside of Philly. Hoop, what do you got?
Yeah, so obviously the main team here is the Phillies. They're going to be super popular, and rightfully so. I mean, they're just in a tier like of their own, like way above everyone else. The lineup did just come out. I mean, you got the main dudes up top, and then Bohm, Segura, Stott, and Vierling. So we have some cheap guys towards the bottom that will obviously garner ownership as well. But, you know, if you go in and you stack the top 5 guys for the Phillies and then you pair them with some Dodgers, you're going to be like the same as everyone else. So you need to do some different things today. But yeah, Phillies are clearly the number 1 stack. I think after that, to me, it's clearly the Dodgers. And, you know, the Dodgers are an expensive team. So it is hard to play both those teams together. So maybe the Dodgers come in a little lower owned. And then one that I'm interested in, like under the radar stack, is the Padres. Lodolo, is a prospect. I know DC's high on him, but he didn't look great in that first start. I'm going to take my chances on guys like Machado, Nola, Vaught, and Will Myers. I'm going to take some chances on the righties there. So kind of lower owned stack that I'm interested in.
I like it. Yeah, this slate is definitely pretty obvious of where the ownership's going to go. Minaya Montas, that pitcher. Phillies are going to be the most popular stack. If you're fading 2 of those 3, all 3 of those, 1 of the 3, like, how to get different on the slate. It's pretty easy. So I will read that Phillies lineup off one more time before we go to position by position. JT Realmuto, Harper, Castellanos, Hoskins, Schwarber, Bohm, Segura, Scott, Vierling, Nola. DC, before you get position by position, I do not know Stott. I do not know Vierling. Anything you can give the people or myself on those 2?
They're okay, but I wouldn't be, forcing them into my lineups by any means. I kind of want the big boppers for the Phillies, frankly. So I'll be focusing on kind of those expensive guys up top. I think they're just the far, like
they're just way better
like
hitters.
Great hitters, right? Like the top of the Phillies lineup is like great hitters that you would play in any situation, and then these other guys are just a long ways behind the top of the order Phillies. So I don't really think this is a situation where if I'm going with the Phillies, I want to go with those cheap bottom of the order guys. Of course, it could work out, but I want the big guys for the Phillies.
Makes sense. We're going to go position by position. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. We got 400 watching, 148 likes. 220 for the plays of the day. That's very fair. Going to get through all the positions. And then we'll get to the plays of the day if you guys can get it. So 220 likes. I know you guys are going to get there for us. Catcher position. Obviously, what stands out right away, I see someone batting leadoff in Coors at a catcher position, which you don't see very often. JT Realmuto, but you're paying for him. 5.6K. DraftKings did a good job there. He stands out. I think he's interesting. Hoop, I'm going to go to you on this one. JT Realmuto stands out to me. There is something called salary in DFS, though. You can't play everyone. Wow, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, the 5s. Excuse me. Bad timing there. Realmuto, yeah. I mean, it's 5.6. It is tough, though. I mean, you will have to make some sacrifice in your lineup. And all these Phillies guys at the top are expensive. So you will be making sacrifices in your lineup.
They did a good job with that.
They did a good job. They did a great job. On FanDuel, I think it's a little more easier. We have the cheap pitchers. They didn't bump these guys as much. Like Kyle Schwarber's 3.5K on FanDuel. It's just a really bad price tag. That's probably equally as bad as Montas's DK price tag. But Real Muto at 5'6", yeah, if you can get up there, absolutely, the top raw points guy by, a wide margin. After him, Austin Nola, I don't mind at 3'6". Will Smith at 4.1K, have interest in. Narvaez for the Brewers, he's 3.2K. They did a good job. Like Sean Murphy's a guy that you look at batting third, but 4.8K, like that's a big boy price tag. But if you are stacking the A's, I think he's a guy that you can consider. It's pretty much it. I mean, catcher is a difficult position. When you're building lineups, you can always incorporate, if you're stacking a team, incorporate the catcher that way. But a lot of times you're either, going for one-off or just trying to get out of the position, spending as least salary as possible.
Yeah, we always talk about throwing a catcher in your stack. And like you said, Hoop, I believe your shipper was a one-off at catcher that you pretty much just punted the position. So you can always take that route too.
My boy Zach Collins continues to get it done slate after slate. Just an absolute stud out there for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, Zach Collins. Yep. The only other one for me is I see 2.4K on the Astros, Martin Maldonado. I don't like him as a player, but I like the Astros. So same kind of stuff. I'm either going to probably go all the way up, all the way down in the stack. DC, we didn't leave you too much on the bone. It's JT Real Muto, but what do you got after that?
Yeah, you guys nailed most of it. No hot takes here on kind of the top end of catchers. You get Real Muto if you can. Otherwise, yeah, Murphy, Will Smith, both look fine. Couple one-offs again on a shorter slate where we're expecting, I don't know, maybe lower scores on offense than we typically see on a 7-game slate. A lot of pretty good pitchers out there. I do like to try to get maybe a one-off at a weak catch position against a pitcher that I don't necessarily have, especially when that pitcher is going to be chalky like Sean Manaea. So Tyler Stevenson is 2,800. He's cheap, pretty good hitter, should be hitting third, has a platoon advantage. And is against probably the chalkiest or second chalkiest pitcher on the slate. So Stevenson is a good one-off. You guys mentioned Narvaez, another guy. Milwaukee, another high team total. But I don't really actually love any of those Brewers bats, right? I can't really single out a guy that I really want. So maybe a way to get some exposure to one of the higher totals is to play the guy at one of the weakest positions. Maybe grab a Narvaez as a one-off.
Yeah, I don't mind that, but I'm with you on the Brewers. They do have a high team total, and the prices, especially on FanDuel, man, the prices are down there. But
who do you want to play though?
I'm a Brewers fan, and I said it day one. I'm like, they're chalk on FanDuel. I'm not eating Brewers chalk on FanDuel. Like
Gary was right. Fade the Brewers the whole year.
Yeah, I'm a Brewers fan, and they do not excite me. That is for sure.
Another team though, where there's big discrepancy between FanDuel and DraftKings. Like everyone in their lineup on FanDuel is 3K or below. So I mean, they probably will be more popular though for that reason. So I get it. And they've underperformed like all season. So I understand what you guys are saying.
For sure. We'll go to first base and obviously there's Rhys Hoskins at the position. Pretty much you go to the position, you look at a Philly, they're going to have some ownership. They're a good play for sure. We're talking Brewers though. Rowdy Tellez, he's in the 5-hole. He's 2.8K. I think he's one of the Brewers that I would have some interest if I did play. DC, I'll go to you go to you first at first base. Who do you got?
Yeah, Tellez is a really good call for a cheap guy. Another cheap guy that I think will be in the lineup is Edwin Rios for the Dodgers. He's got a ton of power, 2,100, swinging from the left side there against Inoa. If you want to go cheap, obviously plenty of options at the top end as well as there typically is with first base. Hard to go wrong with Ohtani, right? Anytime I think you'll get him lower owned against a pretty good pitcher, but he's been heating up recently. You've got Hoskins in Coors Field, of course, if you're stacking the Phillies. Both Rockies look good to me. CJ Cron and Connor Joe, both swinging a good bat. And I think this matchup against Nola maybe isn't quite as bad as people think it will be, just given the fact that it's Coors Field. Other guys I'm willing to play, Joey Votto will have no ownership. Slow start for him. Again, going up against the chalk pitcher and Sean Manaea. But yeah, Tellez at 2,800, I think is kind of the value play down there that I'm most likely to go to, along with Edwin Rios, assuming he's in the lineup.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing, because people were expecting Camargo to be in the lineup. It looks like he had a pretty good price tag. He's not in there for the Phillies, so I'm seeing the same thing. Hoop, first base, who do you got?
Yeah, you obviously have Hoskins. Tellez, I think, really good at 2.6K. agree on the Rockies. Wasn't as high on the Rockies, but with both of you guys kind of on them, I'm going to definitely get a little more exposure to the Rockies guys, and the prices are very nice on DK. Continue to keep these guys
4K
really
leadoff hitter and Coors, like
Yeah.
Connor. You don't. I'll take that.
Yeah, I agree with the Ohtani call, Freddie Freeman, and then the A's guys. They got Billy McKinney batting fourth, 2.6K, and Betancourt is in there batting fifth. He is a 2K all the way down at the bottom, batting fifth. I think he's a really good punt too. So I think a lot of different ways to go at first base. I think 5 or 6. Probably 7 really solid. Oh, and Jared Walsh I wanted to throw in there too. Jared Walsh is 4.3K. I don't mind him. I like Garcia on FanDuel because of that price tag, but I'm not afraid to pick on him a little bit with some Angels bet. So I think it's a pretty loaded position here overall.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up McKinney in the 4-hole, and then Betancourt min price at 2K too. So first base, there's a lot of price or pricing tiers that you can go to, as there usually is, that you can feel pretty good about first base. Before we get into second base, 172 likes right now. 220 is the number. Still got some positions to go. So hit that like, hit that subscribe. You guys will get the plays of the day. We appreciate it as always. Second base, DC, going to go back to you in this one. I'm hoping Gavin Lux is in the lineup. I see 3.3K. I'll go. Yeah. Well, I thought he should be that one day too. And then he was out of the lineup after he homered too. So you never know with Dave Roberts, but I like him as I always do. There's Colton Wong, 3.9K in the leadoff hole for the Brewers. Their prices still are decent on DraftKings, so some ownership will come, but it's the Brewers after all. What do you got for us at second, DC?
Yeah, it took Lux a couple of years, but he looks really good right now against the righty. I will assume he'll be in there. It'll be near the bottom of the lineup, but that's all right.
Which I like. I always like that more though.
Yeah, on the good lineups, I wouldn't worry too much about that, especially in tournaments. Takes one swing obviously to get there in a tournament, and in a good lineup like that, you're probably going to get your 4 at bats anyway. So I think Lux, pretty good call. I think Hoop mentioned some Oakland A's. They're another interesting one a little bit, just because Spencer Watkins is just awful, right? So sometimes you gotta throw the team total out, throw the park out, and just go with a pitcher who could just totally struggle. So yeah, in that case, Jed Lowry, I assume, will be in the middle of that lineup for Oakland. I think he's a little bit interesting. At the top, if you're going with the Dodgers, Max Muncy starting to swing a little bit better bat. I think you could go in that direction. Of course, Altuve's there. I won't be going there myself, but I do think Ozzie Albies is a really good one-off. I don't want to necessarily stack the Braves. I don't want to at all really against Kershaw, but he does give up home runs to right-handed hitters. We know Ozzie Albies is one of the better hitters against lefties in all of baseball. I assume he'll be leading off and super low owned. So he can certainly do the damage, even if Kershaw pitches well. Albies could get him once or twice. So I like him quite a bit. The low end though doesn't look super great. Again, most of these positions are kind of tough, right? You're going to be playing some guys they don't necessarily love. Gene Segura, 4,500. If you want to include him in the Phillies stack, I don't mind that either.
Yeah, I was going to say always the Phillies you can talk about. The only other one that I was looking at that was cheap, there's Lux at 3.3. And then if you're stacking Colorado, Brendan Rodgers, 3.8K. I think he'll make some sense too. Ooh, second base, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, most of the same dudes. I mean, Colton Wong, I think, stands out as a strong play. I have him here on the cash chart. I think 3.9K, under 4K leading off, team total hovering around 5, strong option. Gene Segura, I think, is one way to get different with the Phillies. Yes, he's going to have some ownership, but he's batting 7th, and you still have to pay something for him. You're paying 4 or 5 for him. I think that should keep his ownership in check. So I think, building lineups, Phillies lineups with Segura is one way to get a little bit different. Not going to be completely different because, like I said, it's Phillies. They're clearly above everyone else tonight. They're all going to have ownership, but he's one that I could see coming in with some of the lower ownership. Max Muncy, I do like. If you're going with the Astros, which I like the Astros a little bit here. Altuve, and then Tony Kemp betting first against Watkins at 3.6K. I think is a really, really strong option. So 5 or 6 guys that I'm kind of looking at here.
Yeah, man, and the more we talk about it, like you can make a really cheap Oakland stack at the top of the order for sure. So if you want to go like a Kershaw double spend up at pitcher or something, yeah, you definitely can fit them in for sure. Let's get into third base. There's Max Muncy. There's Justin Turner. If you want to go with the Dodgers, Turner is below 4K, 3.9K. Think that's a little interesting. We got Machado against a lefty. Hoop, I assume you'll have some interest against Lodolo since you do like the Padres.
Yeah.
Ryan McMahon, I have some interest in. I think Colorado goes a little under-owned. He's got pop from the left side. Hoop, I'll go back to you. Who do you got at third?
Yeah, I think like in tournaments, I'm going to definitely get some Machado 4-7. I think the Padres go a little overlooked, and I definitely have interest in those guys tonight. You got Muncy, you got Turner for the Dodgers, Alex Bohm, 3.6K. I imagine he's probably going to end up being relatively popular here. But again, it's one way you can start to get different with your lineups if you want to stack the Phillies, is coming to guys like Bohm and Segura and kind of loading up on some of these less known guys in this lineup. But the 3.6K price tag in Coors is going to, definitely spike his ownership a little bit. McMahon, like you said, definitely interest there. Another tournament option who you can play him at second or third, Bryson Stott. I mean, he's 4.2K. A lot of people are not going to want to go to the bottom of the lineup and pay 4.2K for a guy, but I think an interesting option here, just based on, the fact that he's in the top offense on the slate by far, but he has a price tag too. Like we said about Segura, Stott has a price tag. You're paying a premium for Stott at 4.2. They didn't.
Yeah, and you get the fact that Segura and Bohm, right? They have another guy at his two positions, Stott's positions, who I think people would prefer to play over Stott. So you should get, I think that'll further reduce the ownership there.
Very low on. So, just something to keep an eye on for sure. I don't know. That's about it. Third base, I might be just looking at this. I'd say probably the weakest position on the slate so far.
Yeah, no, it didn't stand out to me really, but if you look at the stacks, like if you're second the Padres, you'll want the Machado. If you're second Colorado, you'll want McMahon. So I think based on your stack, you'll feel good about the third base position, but I agree. Just looking at it, I'm glad you mentioned Alec Bohm. Like I said, I can mention Phillies at every single position. He's going to carry ownership for sure. And I like what you said about Bryson Stott. And that's why I asked DC about them a little bit. Obviously, you want to play the Harpers, Castellanos, all that stuff. But if you're already a little chalky or something like that, I like overspending for someone in baseball in a good lineup at Coors Field, just because it's baseball at the end of the day. The ownerships are just so different. It just makes sense.
And there's a conversation in the Discord earlier that I kind of disagreed with, because everyone kind of thought Camargo and who was the other cheap guy everyone was banking on being in the bottom of the line. I can't remember who it was, but they're saying, those guys are going to be, they're batting 8-9. They're going to be super chalk. Guys batting 8th and 9th, no matter what lineup they're in, they're never super popular. Like, they're never going to be super popular. And there was a conversation a lot of guys, in the Discord were having, but it's just not the case. Like, it doesn't matter what their price tag is. Guys batting 8th, 9th, unless you're talking about like a 2 or a 3 game slate, then they're going to be popular. But guys batting 8th and 9th, no matter the lineup they're in, they're never popular or super popular.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the games on the slate, and then unless they're just positions just totally awful, and it's like he's 2.2K and he's in the best clear spot. But yeah, most of the times, especially in baseball, ownership's relatively spread out. DC, I'm going to head to you though. Third base. We don't think it's the best position, but who do you got for us?
Yeah, I mentioned him at first base too, but I do think Edwin Rios is going to be in there for the Dodgers. A big power hitting prospect at 2,100. Again, probably hitting 8th or 9th, but he would be kind of my favorite punt if you need it. Pittsburgh has 2 third basemen who I think are a little bit interesting. Brian Hayes, I believe, is leading off. He's off to a pretty good start. We know we're going to get some ownership on Eric Lauer, and I'm not really convinced Eric Lauer is frankly all that good. So, you see the low team total for Pittsburgh. I get it, but I wouldn't really expect him to necessarily cruise through that lineup.
They're going to have a low team total pretty much every slate. Just their lineup. So it's not really about the pitcher.
So Brian Hayes, 4,900 is a high price tag, but this is not a great position. 15, 20 fantasy points on DraftKings could lead the slate at this position. Wouldn't shock me. So Brian Hayes, I think, is fun. And then Michael Chavis hitting third for the Pirates. He's got big power. He didn't get to play all the time in Boston, but in terms of like home runs per at bat, he's up there pretty high in the league. Gets I think a fairly mediocre lefty in Eric Lauer and 3K Michael Chavis hitting third for Pittsburgh. Think he's a fun option. Obviously, Machado, if you're not on Lodolo, he makes sense. Max Muncy, I think, is fine. But there is, I think, enough under the radar guys here. I like both Pittsburgh guys, and then I really do like Edwin Rios as well. Might get pinch hit for, but at 2,100, you can take your shot there anyway.
I like it. We're going to head over to shortstop. We need 24 more likes. We got shortstop. We got the outfield position. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're going to get you the plays of the day because I know we got almost 500 watching. You guys are going to get the likes for us. So hit the like, hit the subscribe. We're going over to shortstop, and I definitely take back what I said about third base. Hoop. This is definitely the worst position.
This is the worst.
Not even close. I mean, DC's talking about some Pirates, which I think makes some sense too on a slate like this, because you're in Milwaukee. So you get the guaranteed road at bat. Milwaukee's one of the better hitting parks on the slate like today. So all that makes sense. And you get a very cheap guy, Diego Castillo, 2.6K, second base or shortstop eligible. I would play him at shortstop for sure in the 5 hole. So I think you can do a little worse than the Pirates today. Guarantee the 9th inning at bats, good hitting weather. That's the guy that I guess stands out to me. DC, I'll go back to you, man. Lead me where to go, because I have zero clue where to go at shortstop.
I wish I could be of more help. This is
if me saying this Diego Castillo, who I might never play again in my life, is the one that's standing out to me, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Elvis Andrews, if you're stacking Oakland, he's in the 2 hole. I don't know.
Can't remember the last time I played Elvis Andrews. Probably won't be tonight, but it's rough out there in the third base streets for sure. I think Diego Castillo makes some sense. He's cheap enough, 2,600. Was he hitting 5th in that lineup?
Yeah, 5th.
Yeah. Whoever you play at this position, you're not going to feel super comfortable. You know, if you can, maybe you just go all the way to the top. You get Trey Turner in there against Ynoa. Even that's not a particularly strong matchup, but it's still Trey Turner. It's still the Dodgers. So maybe you get up to him. Gregorius is fine, but just doesn't have much power at all. So I think I would rather go with the upside and Trey Turner. I mean, that Tampa Bay Chicago Cubs, I assume you guys are just completely crossing that game off in terms of hitters.
Is not, I was say Didi's not in the lineup, so that's what makes it even. Like if he was in there, like he's the play, he's not in that lineup tonight.
But yes, to answer your question, DC, I'm just crossing off that Chicago game for hitters for sure.
Yeah. So those guys are
Willie Adames? I know we don't love the Brewers 4 point. He's got some pop in that bat though. Like Jeremy Pena.
That's kind of like the threshold you have to clear for shortstop today. Is like do you have some upside? You know,
can the ball get out of the park?
The problem with the position is the good guys are like priced quite a bit up in comparison with good guys at other positions. Like to get Trey Turner, you're paying 5.8. Like you're paying a big boy premium. Willie Adames is probably like the second best raw points guy, but they priced him up too at 4.6. So you're getting like no breaks on the price tags, but I mean, you can get out of the position cheap, like we talked about, like Diego Castillo 2.6. You got Pena for the Astros at 3.2, Elvis Andrews 3.3. It's just the position sucks. Yeah, it definitely leaps third base.
Maybe if you want to go against a little Shaw Mania chalk, you got the Kyle Farmer batting lead off. Yeah, I mean, man, whatever you're stacking, you can throw the shortstop in there. You can get by going the cheapest. If you want to overspend for a Trey, he has more upside than by far anyone on the slate. I think shortstop's a good game theory position. Fill it out last, see what you got left, see what fits your stacks, et cetera.
It is pretty easy to run again. So Trey could get active on the base paths if that was a tiebreaker for anybody.
Cool. Yep. And then I know you like Lorenzen a little bit, DC, but you've been talking about Jeremy Pena for a little while. His price has came up a little bit, but I like the Astros, so he'd be the other one I throw in there too. Shortstop.
Yeah, he's definitely fine at 3,200. I'm just fading the Astros just because, just belief in Lorenzen, but not guaranteed to work out by any means. So I don't mind that call.
For sure. So we got we need 8 more likes. You guys are going to get it. We're going to get into the outfield position. Always the hardest to do for sure. So on DraftKings, let's go 4.5K and ups. Bryce Harper down to Hunter Renfroe on DraftKings. Hoop, I'm going to go over to you. There's Bryce Harper. There's Ohtani. I like the lefties in Houston. Jordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker. Who are your favorite spend ups in the outfield, Hoop?
Yeah, I mean, so this is a position where, you clearly are going to know the highest owned guys like Bryce Harper, Schwarber for sure. Like those two are going to be the highest owned. Any projections that you pull up have them as the highest projected, not only outfielders, but bats total. Look at a guy like Castellanos, because Harper and Schwarber are so highly owned, like pivoting to Castellanos, I think is interesting because there's no way. Yes, they're all going to be super. Harper and Schwarber are going to be highly owned. There's a chance that Castellanos comes in not low owned, but way lower owned, I guess, than those
It's
guys.
hard to play all three. When all three, what, 5K and up?
You're paying on BK, you're around almost $18,000 in salary for those three guys. So I think Castellanos is a great guy to look at in tournaments. You know, if you pair Harper and Schwarber together and have like a chalky type team, like, you know, you have a chance to be very similar to other people. Playing Castellanos over one of those immediately makes you a little bit different. Mookie Betts should come in low, and he hasn't looked great though at the plate. I don't know, maybe he turned it on a little bit. No, hasn't really done much. But interesting at 5'3", if you like the Dodgers. I agree. Like Tucker and Yordan Alvarez are guys that I really like quite a bit. Should be pretty low owned, I'd say. 5.5 for Alvarez, he'll definitely be low owned, and then Schwarber at 5K. Strong play. Christian Yelich, I like a little bit at 4.7. Renfroe, I think will be low at 4.5K. One swing of the bat for him, but he really hasn't gotten it going all that much this season. The main story up here is obviously those Phillies guys. Schwarber, Harper, phenomenal plays, but probably the two highest owned bats on the slate. Castellanos, I think, a very interesting way to differentiate yourself up here.
Yep, I love from what you said. Like if I was someone listening or didn't look at the slate and just following along with the show, Castellanos would be my favorite play on the slate for everything you said. I love the Phillies, the game theory. I love just going to the game theory in baseball. These two are by far the most popular in the lineup or on the whole slate. Castellanos is a stud. He's hitting in the 2-hole. He's hitting in the 3-hole. Excuse me. Just all makes sense to get the ownership discount in a sport with so much variance. So good point there for sure. 4.5K and up, DC. Yes, obviously the Phillies guys there, but what else do you see?
Yeah, just real briefly on Mookie Betts. He's a fade for me right now until he shows something, because he's coming off a little bit of a down season for him. I think he played through an injured hip and decided not to have surgery, and all his metrics are way down. Career high strikeout percentage, career low walk percentage. Hasn't barreled the ball yet. Career low hard hit percentage. Again, it's been 8 games, but the early returns for Mookie Betts are just dismal. Like sometimes you could just be hitting into bad luck or whatever. It doesn't look to be the case for Mookie Betts. Really does seem to be struggling at the plate. So just briefly on him.
What is he like since Boston? I feel like he just hasn't been the same hitter like ever since Boston. Obviously,
I think he really benefited from the Boston Park, where he would kind of,
that's what I was.
He doesn't have a huge amount of power, so you would kind of pepper that green monster with fly balls that get caught almost any other place, I think, is part of it. And I think he's just not quite healthy right now. So yeah, he's kind of a fade for me at the moment. You guys talked about the Philly guys. I don't really have much more to add there. Tremendous plays if you can get them and you're fine with the ownership. Ohtani, you'll get way lower owned, but obviously has the exact same upside as those other guys, maybe slightly less likely to reach it, but at the ownership discount, he's a guy I definitely want exposure to. Of course, if you're not on Lorenzen, or even if you respect Lorenzen, it's hard not to like Jordan and Kyle Tucker and the rest of the Astros, right? It's like they can do it against anybody. Renfroe, I think, is good. And then, the Rockies guys, Connor Joe at 4K, I think, is a tremendous play. Blackman is the one I'm a little bit nervous about. It just seems like his power is really, really on the decline. So
for years, I feel like it's been like 2-3 years.
Yeah, it has been. And I think maybe his name still gives him higher ownership than he deserves.
Definitely does, because I look at it, I see Coors, and I want to still think it's the Charlie Blackman.
I just think of like bases, the 6K Charlie Blackman from like 3 seasons ago, where he's just an absolute stud. I mean, obviously, probably one of the top fantasy him and Arenado for sure.
I remember this is last year's like early in the season, and I saw I was sitting behind home plate. I saw Charlie Blackman put like a perfect swing on the ball, and it like died like 10 feet short of the wall. And I was like, I got to stop playing this guy. If that's, if you like timed it up and the launch.
If you think you got it good and it's not leaving, you need.
And Coors Field. So I was like, all right, maybe move on. He's probably gonna hit a home run now, but anyway,
100%. He's guaranteed it.
Yeah.
Anthony Rendon, Pete Alonso just missed this much, a complete bomb when we were on the show. That it's guaranteed to hit a home run now. Clockwork.
Yeah, it won't be on my roster or
all the way 2K all the way up. Just keep going to all the outfielders.
Yeah. So the other Angels, I think the Angels are a little bit interesting too. Brandon Marsh's got a guy who definitely has power. We've seen it a couple times, 3,200 against Louise Garcia. Randall Grichuk, 3,100, hitting third for the Rockies. That Rockies stack looks tasty. Like it, maybe Nola pitches well and shuts him down, but if he doesn't, I don't know. I could just see that doing a ton of damage. Hilliard is down there for the Rockies as well, 2,700. Another guy strikes out a lot, but when he gets a hold of it, it's typically going to leave the yard. So those guys, I don't see much below 3K though that I'm super interested. You've got Vierling, but again, I do prefer to pay up for the good Phillies bats if you're going that direction. So yeah, I think the mid tier and then the upper tier is where you want to live at outfield.
Yep, I like it. Hoop, I'm going to go back to you. Brandon Marsh, I think you can always get on board with. There's Ohtani. Like, it's warm in Houston. They're on the road. You're guaranteed the ninth inning at bats. I think I said Houston. Yeah, it's warm in Houston, but talking about the Angels, Ohtani going to go under own. I think that makes sense for a sneaky stack for the Angels. So anybody 4.5K and below that's sticking out, who?
Yeah, I mean, you got those Rockies guys. I mean, I talked about a little more on the Rockies now. Billy McKinney is 2.6K batting fourth. I think he's a strong option. Connor Joe at the 4K price tag, like we talked about. Will Myers, 3.1K. I'm going to be on the Padres. I don't mind him. Should be well owned. If you want another like full punt with upside, Aquino is 2.1K. Against Mania. It's a really good, price tag if you want to, stack the top part of the Phillies lineup. 2.1K guy goes a long way. Profar, I think, is batting fifth. That lineup just came out, and he's 2.7K. Let me verify that. Yeah, he's batting fifth, 2.7K. I have interest in him. But yeah, I agree for the most part. It's like either all the way up or just like all the way down at this position.
Is the bottom of the lineup always been like Alfaro, Kim, Azokar?
No, they're going all righties, all righties, which I do like again for my Padres.
Yeah, I mean, that bottom of the order
besides Cronenworth, yeah,
it does not look very appealing. If you
the bottom of the lineup, yeah, I mean,
it's not that great of a lineup. I think people think of the Padres as a juggernaut lineup, but it's not really right now.
I won't be stacking the bottom. All right, I am playing the Padres, but I will tell you right now, it's not going to be the bottom of that lineup
until Alfaro, probably. If you threw him in at even he's what I looked at 3.8K on DraftKings. Yeah, that bottom of the order.
Nola is cheaper than he is.
Yeah. I'm with you though, DC. Like Voit, he strikes out every time I feel like I'm watching him. I feel like he's striking out. They need with Tatis, that lineup's completely different. Obviously,
I'm just saying, if Lodolo is as good as I think he is, and he's got his stuff, it's not like this lineup is going to,
that bottom of the order is
necessarily right.
Three outs. It looks like. So no, I think the more we're talking about it, the more I have interest. I'm playing on DraftKings. I got like 75 lineups on FanDuel or something. I'm going to throw in some Lodolo because people are jumping off. And this Padres lineup, that bottom of the order is cheeks, as I like to say. So that's enough of that, though. That is all the positions. Hit that like. You guys got it for us, 231. If you haven't hit it already, we appreciate if you do. Hit that subscribe button while you're at it as well. If you're not a member, head over to Run Pure Sports, and you want to be a member, head over to Run Pure Sports. Use the promo code USFL36. Gets you 36% off your first week, your first month. We'll have BigT, JSU, I believe K Phallic, going live at 6 p.m. Eastern right after this. You have to be a member. It's premium, but they'll be talking some baseball, mainly talking NBA playoffs. So we got 3 games, big prize pools. Love the NBA playoffs. A lot of really good games so far. So excited for that. DC's Timberwolves up 1-0. You do love to see that. So head over Run Pure Sports, check it out. But it's time for the plays of the day. I'm going to myself first. I know how many people we got in chat? 467 watching. I'm guessing 32 people out there know who my play of the day is going to be. DC is one of those 32 people. I know it's a random number. It's Gavin Lux at 3.3K, assuming he's going to be in the lineup. Love my boy Gavin Lux. He's cheap. The positions that he's eligible for aren't very good. And he's just a good hitter. He's a good baseball player. So give me Gavin Lux as the SO play of the day. DC, I'll go to you. The Mom's Basement play of the day. Who do you got for us?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to out to Milwaukee and play a Pittsburgh Pirate, Michael Chavis, against the lefty Eric Lauer. Play my first or third base, 3K, ton of power, good park to hit in too in Milwaukee, right? I assume the roof's gonna be closed today. And we know the home run factor pretty high in Milwaukee. So I think Chavis can get one against Lauer.
I like that for sure. Yeah. If you look at the hitting weathers, you have to look at April, each park and what the weather and stuff is. Milwaukee is definitely by far one of the best hitting spots on the slate, guaranteed ninth inning at bat. Like that call for sure, DC. Anthony Rendon is scratched. Thanks for people letting me know. Max Stassi
upgrade to the Angels lineup. He sucks. He fucking sucks.
Didn't he homer that same day? Who
he did?
Yeah, when I was talking shit about him.
It was that same night.
Lowest X velocity home run of the season or something.
He does blow. Gosh.
Hey, it's Charlie, but there's always someone when I'm on the show that someone's getting dogged by us.
Yeah.
It's Charlie Blackman today going deep. He should have.
I got
players. One of them's gonna get you.
DC told the story about the good contact and the ball dying. Like I gotta up my Blackman exposure.
Oh, he's going. He's going deep for sure.
I'm playing more of them after I said that stuff.
Exactly. We'll go over to you. The rich parents play of the day. Who do you got?
I hate to end on bad mojo, but I'm going with the guy I know you guys are going to hate because you like the pitcher, but I got to go with my Padres. It's my sneaky team. It's going to be Luke Voigt, 3.3K. Luke's going to hit us a bomb tonight.
Luke's going to hit you a bomb tonight, he goes. I'm going to say he goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. I won't say he gets that fourth. Maybe when he doesn't strike out, that one will go.
I'm gonna have a good amount of Lodolo, but I'm putting on Luke Voigt on one team.
Thank you. That's all I ask.
I don't have to take the true L. I got him on one team.
Hoop, I was trying to help you out. I had to dog him a little bit because then that's the only way that he's going to show up on this show.
Well, yeah, you did. You went with my boy Gavin Lux was the key to the win on Friday night for me. Low owned and dude's a stud. He's a stud.
Yeah, I'm glad he printed you some cheese. Very good player. I've been playing him ever since he stepped up in the MLB. Yeah. So hey, you get him right once in a while when you play him every single day.
They're gonna have to put him in that leadoff role. Bump Mookie Betts down.
Yeah, that might be dreaming is what I'll say over here. I don't think we'll ever see that for a little while. As long as he's in the lineup, though, that's all I care about. That's going to do it, though. We got 7 games. Again, the slate locks at 7:40 p.m. Eastern on both sites because of those rainout games. So head over to Run Pure Sports. Listen to Big T, JSU, K Phallic. Throw in some NBA lineups. Big prize pool is always big. Very fun. If you're a sports fan right now, it's a very good time. NBA playoffs, MLB, NASCAR, golf, MMA, you name it. Tons of USFL. Hopefully that continues to go on. But so many sports. Head over on Pure Sports. Check it out. Appreciate all you guys hanging out with us. 240 likes. You guys smashed it. We'll see you in the live show chat. I'll be headed over there to watch. Hit that like on your way out. But that's going to do it for us. For Hoop, DC, Simon Behind the Sticks. I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.